came before this paper, and it was refuted. It's not back. Like singularity theory is done. You just go to any physics like resource that say that no singularity. It's not how the Big Bang worked. I mean, most of the theories involve quantum mechanics. No singularity here. So I mean, you bring up a singularity, like that's already been proven false. Hawking himself destroyed that theory pretty concisely. And so light, we know light came into existence at the Big Bang and everything else because it's electromagnetic radiation. The point of general and special relativity is that all of the electromagnetic radiation, that E equals mc squared stuff, all of that came into existence at the Big Bang. That's the point. So saying
what was before the Big Bang?
We don't know. Could be lots of things. Amplitude-hedron, emergent space-time, Sean Carroll's model, many worlds hypothesis. There could be lots of different things.
You see, there's no consensus on
Yeah.
what was, how did this universe,
why do I need a consensus?
Come into thing? You've got the virtual reality, holographic, Copenhagen, cubism. There's all these here theories or hypotheses that are come together with no consensus.
Wait, why are you bringing up a consensus? Like you said, what is possible? What could exist before the Big Bang? I didn't say there was a consensus. I don't need one. It just needs to be possible.
Exactly, and that's what I say. God can be light. God is possible.
Which
and so you have not bring anything that says that God can't be light.
Why do you
I have strong convictions that God is light.
Why do you keep saying it's possible? Like the fact that it's possible doesn't mean anything. It's possible that I'm God. Does that mean I'm God? No. You need to go before that. You need, again, evidence is that which can differentiate your imagination from reality. The fact that it's possible doesn't do that. It's possible I can lift 1,000 pounds. Is it true? No. Does that give you a reason to believe that it's not imaginary? No. The fact that it's possible does not differentiate between imagination and reality, so it's not evidence.
It's not only possible, it's plausible, and it's a better argument than saying, everything came into existence because of random chance. So if that's what your position is random chance.
No, that's not my position. So don't try to label my position if you don't know what it is.
I said if it is. I didn't say it is.
Okay,
I said
so it's not the position.
So what is your position on how the universe came into existence?
So again, you need to preside. You said it was plausible, more plausible.
Yeah.
You presented no reason to believe it. The only thing you presented was it says so in the Bible. And that gives us exactly zero evidence. That's again just imaginary stuff. The Bible doesn't give us a way to differentiate imagination from reality. Just like saying it's possible doesn't give us a way to differentiate imagination. So
I'd say there's a lot to it for evidence. If you were to go on in a court and you say, hey, I have these witnesses that say this, and then you see what the evidence is. It's like walking into maybe a cave, where the culture of that time is no longer around, and you look at the cave wall and they've got pictures on there of certain animals that aren't in that area anymore, in green fields, and around that cave area, let's say it's arid and there's no vegetation, but people say, hey, guess what? These paintings say that there was some culture here that had these animals present, and this is what it was at the time. It doesn't look like that here. They do some digging. They don't find any, let's say, human types of remains for DNA studies, whatever, but they now start to see some animal that would align with what the cave paintings are. And so people say, would you say, hey, they're just imagining that those people lived there? No, we have some evidence that actually coincides with what verbal testimonies are trying to describe of what's going on. And so when we collaborate those, I say that's some very strong evidence to put things together.
So you mentioned the courtroom. In a courtroom, if an eyewitness testimony says someone got killed by magic or miracles or mythical creatures, the paranormal, supernatural, UFOs, it's immediately thrown out. It's gone. It's not evidence. Doesn't matter how many people say it, doesn't matter how many saw it. If you throw in witches did it, or magic, or miracles, anything that doesn't have an empirical basis, it's immediately thrown out of the courtroom. I actually did a debate with Jonathan Sheffield, who actually listed a bunch of court cases that had examples of all of these being thrown out and why they're thrown out. So if you have eyewitness testimony from the Bible saying that there was a magic, miracle, mythical creature, God, or whatever, that's immediately going to be thrown out of the courtroom, just like all the other examples. So that isn't evidence in the courtroom, just like it's not evidence. That's what I'm saying.
It's not. I'm not saying it's a magical, mythical unicorn that was written in the Bible. I'm saying they said God is light, and now we find out what God is, and there's a collaboration.
You said God is
strong evidence
powerful.
that what they're talking about has truth laid in it.
Go back,
and
go back,
so
go back,
I'm
go back,
gonna I'm gonna
back,
put them
go back,
together and say
go back,
this
go
is a
back.
lot better than
You're
somebody
jumping too
saying
far
everything
ahead.
happens by
You're jumping
random
too far ahead.
choice.
You're jumping too far ahead. Go back. So again, you think a God is a disembodied, non-physical mind that is conscious, that exists outside of the universe. That's magic. If you put that in a courtroom, it's going to be thrown out just like a unicorn. The exact same reasons a unicorn is thrown out. So if you have people who are eyewitness testimonies say there's this non-physical being that is conscious that exists outside of the universe, a supernatural mind of some kind, that's going to be thrown out of the courtroom. It's not evidence.
I'm not bringing that into our discussion today. You did. You just asked me if that's what I believe God is. I'm not saying I'm bringing all of that into this argument. I'm trying to stick to just cause and effect science that collaborates and supports the existence of God.
Well, if you define God as light, I mean, we all accept light exists. Like you'd say, God is my cell phone. My cell phone exists, therefore God exists. But that's what we're talking about.
Okay, well, if you believe God is your cell phone, make a case for how a cell phone created all the universe.
Magic.
Okay, you don't have a very good argument. I'm saying God is light, and light collaborates and says this is how the universe is made. So I have a better argument than you. If you want to use your cell phone
go back,
as that's your explanation, it's not very
go back,
strong.
irrelevant. So go back. You said that God is light. Now, we accept light exists. If God is light, that means God is meaningless. It's just light is light. Light is light doesn't tell us anything. There's no conscious being. There's no creation of the universe. It's just light. Light is physics. Naturalism is true. No God. God is light. So either you're arguing that God is light and light is light, therefore naturalism is true, or you're saying there's something else in addition to the natural part that is like a non-physical mind, as an example, or supernatural something. And that part is the magic part that's going to be rejected in every courtroom. So if you're just saying God is light and light is light, you all accept light exists, and that's purely natural. There's nothing non-natural about that. There's nothing conscious about that. It's just light. But if you're saying light is conscious, and there's this additional thing to it, there's no evidence of that. That's the claim, there's no evidence.
I'm saying that God is like, my voice is an aspect of me, so I'm not saying light is all of God. And like I say, I'm not here to argue about how God created, like why God created the universe the way he did, and why there's pain or something, why there's this, but I would say that God created a perfect, in his design it's a perfection. You can't take outside in the wholeness of God's creation. If there's the heaven that's described, the heavenly realm, where that has to be inclusive of what the finite realm is.
I want to address your point now. So you do accept, or you are arguing that God is not just light. There's also something else, something that is in addition to light, that God is.
Right, but that's not what I'm claiming here to cover in this debate, because I'm trying to stick to my position of God is light, and that brings on evidences of how God did it.
I understand your argument. I'm not trying to make you defend those other properties. It's not my goal. My goal here is to say is that if we accept just God is just light, which isn't your position, I know, so then that would be naturalism is true, because we accept light is natural. So if God was just light, then naturalism would be true. So the testimony,
why is that?
Because light is natural. All the scientists who accept light, every property of light is a natural property. But if you think there's something else in addition to that, that's the question, is like when you bring it up evidence in a courtroom, you say, I saw light, and yes, that would be evidence. But if you said, I saw light plus this other thing, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, that's going to be not evidence. That's going to be thrown out, like the unicorn. So if you're saying that the biblical testimony of the apostles or whatever said, God is light and this other thing, whatever it is, that's going to be thrown out of a courtroom, just like if they saw miracles or magic or mythical creatures or anything like that. So that isn't evidence.
Well, if I was going into court and I'm saying my goal is to take a position, say an atheist position that says, okay, it's silliness to believe in God. It's this made-up myth of ancient days of naive people with their imaginations coming up with this type of concept from out of nothing, no basis to come up with this, then my goal coming to the courtroom is not to prove that God exists and prove it by light. My goal, and my goal here in the discussion, is to say, look, you think it's silliness and there's no possible way that God can exist. And I'm saying, you can't make that statement that God can't exist. You can only make a statement that God doesn't exist. And I respect anybody who says, hey, I don't believe God exists. That's fine. You can have your belief and your perspective. Say, I don't believe God exists. That's
Wait,
cool. You know
I,
what I mean? But you
wait.
cannot.
I thought
I don't know how anyone can have a position and say
wait.
that God cannot
Wait,
exist.
I thought
And
the topic.
that's when I'm
I
going to
thought the topic of the
courtroom.
debate. The topic of the debate was like, is there evidence? Right? I didn't think it was, is God possible? Right? Did I misunderstand?
Well, that's it. I'm bringing scientific evidence of how
Because
God
you said
created the
God is
universe.
possible, but God is possible isn't evidence. Like evidence
This
is,
is the scientific evidence of how God did it.
that's again not evidence. That's just how it happened, and you're assuming God did it.
Right,
But
that's
again,
the
so
evidence.
wait,
That's
go
the
back,
evidence. How
go back. So again, the topic of the debate was, is there evidence of a God, and not is God possible. So I'm not trying to argue God is impossible here. That's not my goal. My goal here is to show there isn't any evidence for the God. So there's infinitely many things are possible. They're all contradictory. But to have evidence, you need something that can differentiate the imaginary ones from the real ones. That's what evidence is. Just saying it's possible isn't evidence. I mean, and that's not the topic of the debate. So I don't know why you keep bringing that up.
it is evidence.
The fact that it's possible is evidence.
It's because now I didn't make it up that people said God is light. But if God claims to be light, then that's has to be it has to align with science, and it does. You're giving no credence to that magnificent uh, correlation between what was said that was unknown to what we find out now is absolutely the truth. It's the only possible way that it does happen, and they nailed it. And you're giving it like no uh, uh, um, credence or no
Right, because it's not evidence. Like
merit,
there's a reason no one takes
but it
that
has tons of
seriously.
merit. It has merit.
No,
It's better than random chance.
no. And
Yeah.
again, that's not the position. So,
And all these other positions of,
wait. Again, you haven't addressed my question here. So again, you keep bringing up
Mhm.
possibility. You said your goal is to address
That's
possibility. That's
right.
not the topic of the debate. Remember, so the topic of the debate is evidence. So the possibility doesn't matter to whether or not there's evidence. Like those are two separate things. Right?
Well, that's the outcome of what happens with the evidence.
What?
I present this evidence of how God created the universe because God claims to be light, and if God is light, this is what it is. It aligns science and the belief in God are not like this anymore. It's not like science is over here, has nothing to do with God, and we're battling like this. No, they align together. And it's like, okay, the God Bible says that God holds all things together. Oh, atoms and molecules are held together. Oh, guess what? It says that the things of this world come from the invisible into the visible. And guess what? That explains quantum electrodynamics. We have a process where a wave function, and we can take an atom. Let's take an atom, and you got your electron in there, and it's going through this. It doesn't orbit around the nucleus of an atom like once thought, and an ongoing state of matter. It goes in and out from wave function to particle, and that process of collapse to a particle is caused by light.
Why are you bringing this up? Like, I mean, I understand what light is. I grant light exists. I grant electromagnetic radiation. So talking about those things is just bringing up facts we agree with. So that doesn't.
I'm bringing up just facts you agree with.
So yeah, we agree
and
light exists.
but these are writings in the Bible that are on in addition to just saying God is light. And what's that?
Where does it say anything about electromagnetic radiation?
It talks about this process of quantum electrodynamics.
Where does it talk about that in the Bible? Please find that.
It talks about it when it says things like Colossians 1:16, for by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible. And it goes through about this process that the things of the visible are from the invisible. And that's a description of wave function collapse, of a wave function that is invisible that collapses to a particle so that can be a physical presence. And so that there's a description of quantum electrodynamics or this observer effect. We have
Oh God.
God saying,
no, that didn't say anything about quantum mechanics. That's called an ambiguity fallacy. You're taking the fact that you can interpret that in infinitely many ways, and you just apply
not
it
infinitely
to
number of ways.
Yeah, it is. It's
but it aligns with what science is.
Like literally anything can if you interpret it with ambiguity like that.
No,
it's
not literally anything.
I mean, this is actually a known problem in science called the problem of underdetermination. There are literally infinitely many ways to explain all possible data, no matter what. Exactly. Like if you just took all exact scientific facts, E equals mc squared, F equals ma, gene entropy, everything, you could explain that infinitely many ways, even without anything vague. Like exactly the data points we have scientifically, you can explain infinitely many ways. And then you're applying this interpretation of the Bible where it's so vague it could apply to just anything. Like whatever the universe is made of, it would apply to that. There isn't something that the universe could be made of that would not apply to.
Like, oh yeah, you could apply it to the many worlds theory. You can apply it to the virtual reality holographic theory.
I mean,
you can apply it to the Copenhagen theory.
No, I mean, like literally, if the world was made of cream cheese, you could apply it to that statement. So, like the statement says, the seen comes from the unseen or whatever. We clearly don't see everything, so necessarily.
I mean, if you don't want to have a serious discussion on this, that's fine.
Go back. So whatever created the universe necessarily came from the unseen, because we don't see everything. We literally do not see everything. The only way that statement could be false is if the things we see, like that camera, did it. Like, clearly not. So the fact that the universe came from the unseen is just obviously true. So that doesn't tell us anything. Like all of the statements in that quote are just true no matter what. Like there's no way to make that false. It's ambiguous.
Then you can make it false because there would be no science to align with it or support it.
No, I mean like the statement in the Bible. Like how could that statement be wrong? What possible set of conditions could make that statement not true? If like the world was made of cream cheese, then it would still be true. Like we'd still be the seen came from the unseen. If the world was made of magic puffins, it would still be the seen came from the unseen.
Well, I agree that you could have that position if there was no science attached to it to collaborate with it. We have quantum electrodynamics, the observer effect, that collaborate and say, hey, this here collaborates with that statement. And so there is some credence and to support it.
I don't think
so. It's just not made up.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. So, like, if I said, whatever created the universe is waggle blah blah. I mean, whatever happens to be the case, I'm going to say that's a waggle blah blah. Therefore, I can't be wrong. It's always going to be the case that my statement is going to be true no matter what, because it's so vague it can be interpreted to be anything.
Okay, so where's your science? Where's your science to back it up?
Science, literally anything we ever discover, I'm going to say that's a waggle blah blah blah. So any science that exists, I'm going to say that corresponds to my word.
What does that mean? I want to ask you what it means.
Well, that's the point, is that it doesn't mean anything. It's ambiguous. Ambiguity means that the word can be interpreted in infinitely many ways. Just like the
it can't be interpreted in infinite number of ways. It's a finite number of ways.
What? No.
For this statement of things from the visible are manifest from the invisible type of statement, can, I admit, be interpreted in some other ways, but not an infinite number of ways. Now, if you say something that has ambiguity, like blah, 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 then you can make up whatever you want for it to mean.
Yes, exactly like the Bible statement. Now, you said there aren't infinitely many ways.
There's only a certain number of ways
that something can be
interpreted.
Yes,
and so if you have a science that's going to back it up, then you can collaborate it.
So let's go back. Okay, so there are infinitely number of ways to interpret that statement. Now we know that's a fact because you can take it how language works. Wait,
there's an infinite number to interpret your...
Don't interrupt. So we know there's an infinitely number of many ways to interpret that statement because of, one, we can just look at linguistics and the natural ambiguity of language, so we know it's a fact from that way. Two, we can just give you a list of examples. Like maybe it's created by just pick a thing that we don't see, and then say how many possible things are there that we can't see? There are infinitely many things. There could be lots of things in science we haven't discovered yet that we haven't seen, and any of those infinitely many things could have created the universe. And if any of them did, and like other than light, then those things would still conform to this statement in the Bible. Like infinitely many of them, protons, quarks, WIMPs, whatever, just infinitely many things. All of the possible things we can't see, which there are infinitely many. Any of those, if they created the universe, would make that statement true, right?
No.
How?
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you have any belief in science? Does
Yes.
science give us any evidence of foundations for truth?
Sure.
Why? Because if science says something, then there's an infinite number of interpretations because it's ambiguous.
Novel testable predictions. What we do
You
is we
can make
say,
it say whatever you want.
no, that's why we have novel testable predictions. We can say that like if there's infinitely many ways to explain why that cup fell over, and then we say, well, my explanation is that a squirrel knocked it over, and if the squirrel knocked it over, then we're going to find little bite marks there, and then we can test it and say, ah, oh, we look at the cup, ah, oh, there's little bite marks, and the fact that I could predict that before I knew it is good evidence that it was done by a squirrel.
Right, I agree with you. I'm just saying that I'm trying to refute your position that just because something's written in the Bible, you say, oh, well, that can mean an infinite number of different things, and I say that's ridiculous.
Wait,
I'm
no,
not I'm not disagreeing
so
that ambiguity, something with ambiguity can have an infinite number of outcomes or meanings to it, but a statement of something occurring with a description to it uh, 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 limits the amount of meanings it can have to it.
not really, no. So like if I said,
Or here's an example. The Bible says that um, a man named Jesus Christ or Yeshua existed on the planet. Okay, can that mean a million different, infinite number of things? No, you got, hey,
but
was this man on the earth or not? So it doesn't have,
it can mean infinitely
we're
many
talking
things.
about a unicorn, not a person. I mean,
Like
what
no
you're
no no
saying
no no
sounds ridiculous to me.
no. So go back, like just to use your example, one of the interpretations of the Bible that's it's not a very common one is that when it says Jesus existed on the earth, it's proverbial and it means in the earth, the Greek of the word can be interpreted to mean a spiritual realm. So he didn't actually exist on the physical earth. That's one of the many infinite many interpretations. Again, natural ambiguity of language, just Google it. We know for a fact words can literally be interpreted infinitely ways. But to use the specific quote you got from the Bible, the quote says, the seen came from the unseen. That statement can have infinitely many things that make it true. Like if anything we don't see, like there's infinitely many things we can't see. Like we don't see everything. There's like we could just go off in any direction. It's infinitely many things in that direction we don't see right now. If any of those created the universe, then that statement in the Bible would be true. So there's infinitely many things that could have created the universe that would still make that statement true. In fact, there's nothing that can't make that statement true because we don't see everything ever. So the fact that there's infinitely many things we don't see, and any of them could have created the universe, then that statement would still be true.
Well, let me put it another way for that thing. If you believe there's an infinite number of ways that that could be interpreted, which I don't agree with, but let's just say you're saying there could be an infinite number of ways that that could be interpreted. It could, and I come to you and say, okay, well, let me just tell you this, that science says this is what happens from the unseen to the seen in quantum electrodynamics, because science doesn't have an infinite number of explanations of how things in the unseen become seen. In this world, we've got quantum mechanics that can explain it. And so this is tied to light, and God is light. And so we have this connection now that takes an infinite number of possibilities down to one that collaborates with science that says there's one. And if you want to say, wow, that's just lucky chance and really it doesn't mean anything to me, then, I think you really have a bias at looking at,
It's called the sharpshooter fallacy.
really the possibilities where science supports the existence of God and are not open to the possibilities.
Texas sharpshooter fallacy, you're taking the conclusion and then taking that interpretation and applying it to the Bible, not the other way around. So, I mean, literally anything science discovered ever would always fit that statement, no matter what. Anything science ever discovered is always going to make that statement true. There's not something science could discover that could make that statement false. It's unfalsifiable. It just applies to anything. Like if science discovered it wasn't light, if science discovered that water created the universe or something, it would still be true. That statement in the Bible would still be true because the water that we can't see created the universe.
Okay, that's a great statement. I'm glad you made it, because if water created the universe, then the statements in the Bible, we'd sit here and say they're wrong. Oh, we have no basis really to believe that God created the universe. It's actually counters the belief that God created you, because the Bible says God is light, and we find out through science that water created the universe. Look at that. Here, it doesn't collaborate. Boom. God. We have proof now that really scientifically, science does not support the existence of God. Or if the Bible said that God is water and created a universe, and we found out that light actually does all these things about creating and sustaining and development of life, then we'd say, hey, there's no connection here, and you have a null void argument. But what we do have is a collaboration that has perfect alignment for the explanation of how things from the unseen become seen.
What I'm saying is that if it was water that created the universe, you wouldn't be here saying that light created the universe. Someone else would be, and they'd be saying that the Bible corresponds to water creating the universe. It doesn't matter what created the universe. They're always going to quote that exact same passage and say, the seen came from the unseen.
Like, okay, where does the Bible say water created the universe?
You can interpret it in any way you want. That's kind of the point of the natural ambiguity of language, which is just a fact of linguistics known by every academic thing. Google natural ambiguity of language, it's a thing. So you can interpret it in any way you want. That's why there's 30,000 denominations. That's why there's 30,000 denominations of Christianity, all ridiculous different interpretations that are all crazy and none of which give evidence.
I disagree. I think religion is a lot like science when it comes to areas that science doesn't know. And for example, how does the universe come into existence? And we have all these different theories: Copenhagen, parallel universe, string theory, multiverse, cubism, pilot wave theory. And it's like, well, it could be this, could be this, could be this. That to me sounds a lot like people getting together about God, going, look, there's God, a supernatural being. How does it work? How does he exist? And some people say, oh, it goes like this. Some people go like this. And so people come together and put things together on what is God. And so I see a lot of in areas that they really don't know the answer to.
Walking, and this guy goes past us, like zooms past us, and he's on inline skates, and he's pushing this big like running stroller with a dog inside. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know, my name is Aspen. I'm an American living in fabulous Munich, Germany, and I talk about what it's like living abroad. Even if you don't already know, I absolutely love dogs. They are the best thing in the world, almost. Let me just quickly summarize why. Dogs are great because they're the ultimate hype man. You can be doing absolutely anything. It's not just, hey, you want to go for walkies? No, you can be like, hey, I'm gonna go get the posts, and they're like, woo. Hey, I'm gonna go outside for a run, and they're like, woo. Or you can be like, hey, I'm gonna sit around the house and I'm gonna do absolutely nothing. And I'm like, yeah, man, let's do it. Just tail wagging, all that excitement, enthusiasm, just, I relate to them so much. Anyhow, main point. Dogs are good around the world. I have lived in many different countries and I have known many different dogs in my life, but I have come to find that in Germany, this is where the goodest of good boys live. It's just astonishing to me how well behaved dogs are in Germany, because I have yet to have some sassy boy come up and jump on me in public, or some dog come over with their little puppy eyes trying to like their way into getting some crumbs in my snack. No, these dogs are respectable members of society. This shocked me when I first moved here, because you can take dogs literally anywhere. I mean, in restaurants and in cafes, this is wild, but they're so well behaved. A lot of times you don't even know they're there. Like, you'll be at a cafe, like an hour or so, just sitting, hanging, doing your stuff, and then boom, out pops this like big old Great Dane from under the table next to you. Oh, okay, not Great Dane, I haven't seen that yet, but I've seen some pretty big dogs sneakily come out from under tables. Oh my gosh, and everywhere, and when I say everywhere, everywhere. So most companies have an office dog, which is the best thing in the world. Like, imagine going to work and there's a dog there. It's great and it's so normal. And in the US, this is most likely never allowed. It's not okay. But here, it's like you expect to have an office dog. And in one of my old companies, we had like 3 office dogs. It was great. And a couple of them started out as puppies, and there was this one, it was a little golden retriever, and he was so cute. Oh my goodness. It was really hard to work, and I tried to stay away from that office sometimes because it just, the distraction. It's just amazing, and one of those things where you're like, this is so great. I'm so happy I live here. But with that being said, in the US, dogs, they're good boys, but they're bad boys. They don't have very good manners, but also people as well. In the US, if you see a cute dog, everybody goes and grabs it and tries to pet it. And in Germany, they don't do this, which I personally am like, hey, cool, don't touch that dog. It's like going up and grabbing someone's child. You don't, and it's weird if you do. And I don't know, it should be frowned upon the same way, I think. I don't know where your hands have been. You washing them? Don't touch my baby. Just tip, if you want to pet a puppy, ask permission. But I have to say, there is one dog in my neighborhood that I'm really good friends with, and I have permission to go up and boop his snoot when I feel like it. So I like to go running in the early mornings because there's a dog park near my house, and there's this old sweet Oma that walks by with her little dog, and she's got this little Dachshund doggy. Dachshund, you know, the little sausage boys, except this is one with the longer hair, so it looks like this little cute old man with his little tiny feet and his just little mustache. Oh, and his name is Krummel, which is crumbs. So I'll get up extra early and run by, and then I can be like, oh. Okay, another thing though, I do have to quickly add that I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. I talk to people a lot about this often, and I mean, I've got photo evidence because nobody would believe me, but in Munich, there's this thing where a lot of people push their dogs around in prams. Push their dogs around in like a big old kinderwagen, so like a pram or a stroller, however you say that. They literally will go around with this puppy in there and push it around. And I've seen people with like 3 dang dogs being pushed around in a pram, and I mean, this one time, which I thought I was going crazy. Luckily somebody was with me, but we're walking and this guy goes past us, like zooms past us, and he's on inline skates and he's pushing this big like running stroller with a dog inside. I don't know. Have you guys seen this? Is this in your cities in Germany? If you're not watching from Germany, does this occur in your country as well? Because I am baffled, but at the same time, It's a little guilty pleasure. It's like, I would say it's comparable to the tissue culture in Germany. You're like, this is different. I'm here for it. I'm just gonna look and admire this wholesome little joy that's happening in front of me. And it's just, oh, but okay, but actually important educational point I would have to say to this dog life in Germany is that it is far, far more regulated, which I would imagine constitutes to why these dogs are so well behaved. But in the States, literally anybody can have a dog and people don't train them. For that obvious reason, they're not so well behaved. But in Germany, it's a lot different. So with dogs, first of all, there's a tax for them, Hundesteuer, which dog tax, and this is really interesting. I've read up so far about it. It's basically either like the money is used to help fund things like, I don't know, doggy bins in the park, or discourage people from hoarding animals, which I've read that. I'm not quite certain. I would hope it's that reason because that's a great idea. In the US, people hoard animals and it's ridiculous and crazy, and just why, how, Since the doggy tax, there's also doggy insurance, which of course, Germany, insurance for alles, even your dogs. And this one is basically like you have your dog health insurance, but you also have liability. So it's like personal puppy liability, but also public puppy liability. Bear with me now. The word in German for dog liability insurance is really long to say, and I can pronounce it great in my head, but I haven't said it aloud yet, so let's try this, everybody, all together now. Dog insurance in Germany is called Hundehaftpflichtversicherung. We tried. Points for effort. When it comes to this, I know in the States, for example, there are certain states where it's mandatory that you have like your animal's microchip. From what I've gathered, not everywhere is this mandatory, but some states in Germany, you have to have these insurances for your dog. Otherwise, you can't have a dog. I'm not quite certain. If you guys know more about dogs in Germany, if you are a doggy owner, please comment below, give me more details. It is my dream to have a dog in the near future, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm still working up to afford and give my future puppy the life it deserves. When it comes to the prices for the insurance and the taxes, this is definitely always a little bit different based on the dog and the breed. So for example, a friend of mine has a mixed dog and he's like mixed Rottweiler and some other big boy. And so typically, I mean, it's the same in the US as in Germany. These type of dogs are seen as dangerous, are seen as gefährliche Hunde, Kampfhunde, like fighting dogs, right? Because these breeds are more genetically predispositioned to being aggressive and to being just, you know, a little tougher than other ones, which makes sense. They'd be more expensive and regulated. Kind of sucks for him because, of course, like he's limited. He can only take his dog to certain places, like really more so populated public places. He's not allowed to take his dog, and that's kind of a bummer because his dog is the sweetest dog ever. He's such a good boy, but he's part Rottweiler, so people are like, I don't know. My opinion on this, I'm like, okay, it's cool that, and I do agree, maybe it should be a bit more expensive just to help incentivize people to train and take care of their animals better, because that's usually the problem. These dogs are genetically dispositioned to be more aggressive, and if you don't train them, they're very big, they're very muscular, and if they get easily grumpy and they're not trained, then yeah, what do you expect to happen? But if you train them properly, then there's no problem, and they're just like big precious pups. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about, taking care of your doggies. And that's why I like Germany, because they incentivize people to take better care of their doggies then take better care of me, and the circle is complete. Yeah, so rambling done. If you guys like dogs as much as I do, don't forget to give me some great big thumbs up. If you like my videos, why don't you subscribe? Why don't you comment below and talk to me more about dogs? Anyways, it sounds like my neighbor's doing construction. Apologies for that. But I will talk to you guys next time, and I hope you're having a wonderful sunny day. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
It's still recharging.
Raiden.
I can't use that item yet.
Why are we here? Happening?
Alert. New anchor location detected within aperture.
Well, aperture is certainly the polite way to put it.
Beware. Beware.
It's not ready yet.
Beware.
It's still recharging. It's not ready yet. It's still recharging. I can't use that item yet.
Beware.
It's still recharging. I can't use that item yet.
Beware.
It's not ready yet. recharging.
Holy shit.
It's not ready yet. I can't use that item yet. It's not ready yet. I can't use that item yet. It's still recharging. It's not ready yet. It's still recharging.
And accept my embrace.
I can't use that item yet.
Beware. Beware.
It's not ready yet. I can't use that item yet. It's still recharging. It's not ready yet. It's still recharging. I can't use that item yet.
Beware.
It's not ready yet.
Beware.
So I don't know what this is. All I know is it was made for Vine Source. And it's meant to be very impressive as a ROM hack. I've heard that sample there right before. Yeah, that was awesome. Whoa, that is Mario as a biker, I think. What is that? Is that poking? What is that? Oh, is that the meat? Well then, the music's different too. I think. It is different. The baseline is different. Let's just... I'm gonna have a timer. I don't think the timer means anything in this playthrough, but I'll have one on. Wow. Mario and Luigi have an endless supply of spaghetti. However, they always end up lacking meat. And what is a meatless... Oh. Wow, that's really good. Since Mario and Luigi are too busy saving the world, it's down to Sponge to go find a reliable source of meat. Oh, hey, Ghost, thanks for the 10 months. I didn't even see that. You must have done that when I was not headphoned. Green grass, eat my A. Okay. What is this song? Kind of catchy. Oh crap! Oh, okay. Oh, it's instant retry. So there's infinite lives. Yikes. Okay, this guy's gonna be a dick, isn't he? Oh, the Goomba got turned around by that. Okay, it's a suicidal Goomba.
Goomber.
Some pallet. Heck. What is that? Is that a fish? It's a fish. No, it's a reskinned fish. Oh, that doesn't work, huh? Okay, so this is a level. What? Is that meant to happen? Is that supposed to happen? I feel like no. Maybe it could be? Layer 2 here? I think I'm on layer 2, it feels really weird. Whoa, what is going on? Holy crap.
What?
Well, that's something. Are we going inside of it? We're going onto it? It's a cool sound sample. Oh, I think I just jump into it. What? That's a slope? What? Why couldn't I? Oh, I must have jumped on top of a pipe. Wow. No, that's interesting. Oh my god, that's horrible. Nut? What is nut?
3, 2,
Star Fox music.
1.
Is that Peter Griffin? I don't know what that is. Mega Man. Some sort of Luigi. No idea. No idea. Interesting. I don't know what that thing on the right is. Speed. What the heck? Boy, this is crazy. Is this something out of Animal Crossing? Don't talk to me or my son ever again. Is this a thing out of Animal Crossing? Quacko? Is it? So what's that?
I can't use that item.
Metroid? Oh, okay. Cryberry. Press Y to cry? What is this gonna do? Is this... You shoot tears? That's different. Whoa. I like how he closes his eyes to like spit a tear out. Wow. So they're bats, swoopers. This is definitely something. Can you spin jump? You can. Yeah. There's dead animals in the floor. What is this? Oh, block. B for block. Wait, what is this thing? Eat my tears, nerd! Well, not anymore. I lost my tears. I haven't played Binding of Isaac, no. Scoot the herbs? What? Wait, what? Is this meant to go in here? Wait, I've still got the block through the door. That's different. That normally would never happen. You can't take items through doors. Zombies. Why is the block yellow now? What is this block? The heck is this? Whoa, he pushes Mario back. Good day, I am Dax. Get ready for the quiz. Number 1. How many faces do I have? I really shouldn't have put that block there, huh? 5? I didn't press it. Brainstorming? Okay, well. Oh god, oh no, that block is in the way. Oh, so you have to go back to the start, alright. 5? Yes. Number 2, repeat what I say. Oh, I don't know. This isn't part of the quiz. Who's the fattest? Who's Mr. Dink? You may have. Yo, you need this. Wait, what? Oh, thank God. Final one. What's the password? Wasn't it? It was this, wasn't it? Oh, I was carrying the B block. Wait, what? This is a good song, but also a wrong password. Wait, what? Oh my God, I have to do it all again. Okay. What's the password? Oh, wrong Gaga? Oh my God. I have no idea. These must all be in-jokes that are beyond me, because I don't know the channel. You can look at the book? Oh, you can press up? Oh my God, what? Original brother idea? Fruits, frogs, wheat, dislikes tofu. Oh, poor tofu. His pecs? Oh. Oh, that's the law. Dear diary. Today is the day I escaped this hellhole. Zip zoom! Zip zoom. Uh-huh. That was gonna be. I was gonna pick that, and then I changed my mind because I was like, no one says that. You may now go through. Well done. I'll never forget you. Bless. What is this bless stuff? Do I take this block with me? There's some Undertale happening. Mecha Koopa? Mecha Koopa.
Wow.
Whoa. Dude, the visuals in this section are really crazy. That's a mole. What's this? This is so weird. Sorry, nothing? Oh, I got a different block this time. Wait, what?
What?
Ert 2.
Why? Oh, this person.
What just happened? What's this? Oh, Ert 2? Wait. What does that mean? Oh, Bert 2? Wait, what just happened to my block? Did you see that? Did I just grab the wrong block? Dunno. It's different. Oh, what? Mole's gonna go down? Yeah. What is that? So I wonder, I don't know what you can actually, like, press up on. Wait, this thing didn't... Oh, because I was facing it, didn't I? Not happening, mole. That's odd. Wait, did something not work as intended? So you can't go back. What the hell is this? Oh my god, what is that?
Hello, and welcome back to Stop the Shunning. So a lot of people have asked me, well, what do you believe now? Now that you're not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, what are your beliefs now? And the short answer is, I don't subscribe to any particular belief system. I don't endorse any particular religion or denomination. What interests me is psychological health, emotional health. Surprise, surprise that I would say that. For anybody who's seen my videos, I am interested in anything that reduces anxiety and leaves me feeling centered and at peace. That leaves me feeling balanced. That's what's important to me. And personally, for me, I have not found that in organized religion. And that's not to say that that doesn't provide comfort and community for a lot of people. And I'm not anti-religious. So you must be anti-religious. I'm not anti-religious. I just don't feel personally like I have to seek out organized religion in order to feel fulfilled. But since leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, I have visited several churches and synagogues. And no, I don't know the ins and outs of every religion out there. I have not explored everything. That's the beauty of being out of a high control group. You can step back and go, okay, what do I believe? Let me think about all this. I was born into a religion. It was all I knew. Now I can step back and breathe and really discover what's important to me or what makes sense to me. So I'm coming from that position. But again, when I left, I explored other religions and churches. And I found something positive in every place, in every community that I visited. When my husband and I first disassociated, my husband really wanted to, he grew up in Texas and Louisiana, so kind of like that Bible Belt area, and he was interested in attending a progressive, all-inclusive Baptist church. I had no interest, but I had nothing against it. It's just I had recently left the Witnesses. I was like, oh no, a church or another religion, that's, you know, that's blasphemous. I don't know why, because it's just that indoctrination that was in me, that, oh, that's Christendom, that's another church, you know. I left the Witnesses, but I'm not going to explore anything else, you know, so that was the mentality. So I went with him to a couple of church services, and it was surreal, to say the least. It was surreal to sit in a church, see the architecture, and hear the worship service. It was a female pastor, husband-wife duo, that they were the pastors of the church. And there was no love bombing. It wasn't like, oh, we're best friends instantly, you know, like how in witness culture it is. But people were welcoming. It was a very pleasant experience. Just a lot of nice families. And the message was very positive, and I appreciated seeing a female pastor she was dignified, but she was also a little sassy, which I appreciated. But she was speaking her faith and spoke strongly, and I appreciated seeing a female pastor. She was really cool. And I liked her husband too. He was a very positive, warm speaker. That was nice. I didn't particularly feel a connection to the religion per se, but it was definitely that feeling of like, oh, a lightning bolt's gonna come through the sky, and just how dare you sit in a church, Bethany? You know, this is part of Satan's system. All these very extremely judgmental statements about religions, derogatory statements about religions that are not Jehovah's Witnesses. So that was interesting. And again, nice community, nice church. But I kind of just went with my husband for moral support. Even though he didn't particularly need it, he'd go anyway, but just to explore something, you know. And then after that, I went to a humanist, like Universalist. There's a Universalist Unitarian church or something. That was very nice. But in particular, specifically, I attended a Reformed Jewish synagogue or temple for the first time in my entire life. I had a genuine spiritual experience, or religious experience, or whatever you want to call that. I had never felt that before as a Jehovah's Witness. A genuine, authentic spiritual experience. I'm not Jewish. I wasn't born into a Jewish family. I honestly can't fully explain why I felt so connected. I loved the music. They played acoustic guitar and sang in Hebrew. And there was just this beautiful sense of community and heritage that I don't know, it just really spoke to me. I'm sure, you know, I was born into into the Jehovah's Witnesses religion or organization. Anyone who's born in knows there's no exploration of other belief systems. It's not like, oh, sure, Susie, you want to go to a Baptist church and check it out? Sure, go ahead, and then we'll study the Watchtower. Oh, you want to go with your friend, whoever, you know, to the temple? Yeah, sure. And everybody who's a born witness knows that that's not how it goes. And it's not even like they're necessarily that some parents, like my parents weren't cracking the whip and saying horrible things about other people. They believed they had the truth. And that's how they were raising me. You know, they just did what any decent parents, you know, who love their child would do when they think they have the truth. Yeah, there's no exploration. So I'm sure that there are teenagers or young people possibly in the Jewish faith whose parents are devoted, they're part of a devoted Jewish family, and maybe they secretly are not happy there or don't identify with it or whatever. That could apply to other religions. It was more of a contemporary Jewish service that incorporated traditional values. And again, I had never experienced anything like that before. That was an amazing service. I attended a handful of services. I actually literally live across the street from a Reformed Jewish synagogue now. I can walk there, it takes me 2 seconds. And I've been to some meditation centers and, you know, done yoga and stuff like that. But again, I don't feel the need personally to attend a building or to adopt hook, line, and sinker a whole belief system in order to feel fulfilled and centered and to reduce anxiety. As one of Jehovah's Witnesses, there were, like I said, there's positive features in a lot of these denominations and churches that I went to. The Jehovah's Witnesses, there's some positive features. Jehovah's Witnesses, for instance, believe in paradise. Who wouldn't want to live on a paradise earth? No sickness, death, crime, whatever, depression. It's a perfect world. That's a beautiful idea. But the explanation of human suffering, well, God doesn't cause suffering. He's allowing it to happen to prove that man can't rule themselves and that he should be the one to rule the whole earth. And he knows what's best. When I left,
Yeah, he
it
knows
finally
best,
hit me.
dude.
So he's allowing untold human suffering, so much suffering to make a point. Personally, that was not a satisfying answer. That doesn't make any sense that a loving, warm, heavenly Father who loves you is allowing the human family to suffer this much to prove a point. Personally, that's not a satisfying answer to me. There were other positive features about the organization, other beautiful beliefs, but for me, the bad outweighed the good. When I talk about lowering anxiety and feeling centered and peaceful, I did not experience that as a Jehovah's Witness. And when I would have intense anxiety, I was taught to recite scripture. You know, think of a scripture that really brings you comfort. For me personally, I would recite a scripture at school or wherever I was, and I had convinced myself that yes, it reduced my anxiety, I feel better. But if I'm being completely honest with myself, it was just a placebo effect. I didn't really feel fulfilled or at peace or anxiety free. But yeah, so the bad outweighed the good, and then when I discovered the corruption and really shady practices and how a lot of things didn't add up, and I have no interest at all in debating with anyone about any of that doctrine or whatever. Well, this scripture says this and this, and you tell people to research stuff. How can you go to a Jewish temple, or how can you do this? Don't you know the Torah says this? I thought you said to research. Again, I don't accept anything fully. I see positive features. It depends on your interests, your values, your goals. As long as I feel centered and balanced and at peace and have reduced anxiety, that's most important to me. So yeah, I have absolutely no interest in debating with anyone about doctrine and why I'm wrong and why I need Jesus and all this stuff. Not interested at all. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but it's misplaced. And I wish you well. I genuinely wish you well, whatever brings you comfort. As far as leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, well, you say there's positive features. Yeah, there are positive features, but the bad outweighs the good, in my opinion, and for a lot of people. Those are my current beliefs. I just don't believe, personally, in absolute truth. But currently, this is how I feel about it. So, yeah. So, I hope you guys have a good night, and I'll see you in future videos. Take care.
to target something first.
Tether weakens.
Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. In this video, we'll go over some more tips to help make some lazy gold. Like the other video, I'm not going over where to farm specific materials or telling you about the hot new thing. These are just some simple tips that can boost your income. But first, let's give a warm welcome to my newest patrons, Hoji Toft and Heroic Cat. Thank you so much for your support, and welcome to the Kraken crew. Alright, let's get into it. Tip number 7, self-sufficient professions. Self-sufficiency is a great way to save on some gold and even make some. Counting just the crafting ones, there are 8 major professions. You can have enough alts to cover all of them. Level them, and collect recipes too. Then, just don't ever change them. Having every profession with all the recipes at your fingertips is handy and a great way to make some gold on demand. Tip number 6, personal guild. Make your own guild to store your gold, materials, and other items. You can put your alts in this guild, especially the ones with crafting professions. You can use this as a sort of faction-wide bank for yourself, and with mobile banking being a thing, you can whip out crafting materials or utility items anytime you need them. Putting your banker tune in this personal guild makes auctioning even easier too. Tip number 5, pick a server for your faction. Having all your alts of the same faction on the same server allows you to share gold and items amongst your alts, rather than having it spread out. This helps a ton when you're trying to save up for something big and want to use every copper. Servers are unlimited on characters now, so you can have all your alts on one realm if you really want. The auction house is
Wait,
also
they're
cross-faction,
unlimited?
as a side note. Tip
That's
number 4,
why. Oh
favorite
my
daily
god.
and weekly instances. Pick your favorite dungeon to do once a day. It doesn't have to be the best or done repeatedly, just your favorite. Maybe even do a different dungeon each day for fun. While inside, gather nodes you find, skin mobs, and loot everything. You'll get some BOEs, Mog, maybe even a pet or mount depending on where you are. The point is to get some fresh items, a bit of gold, and to have fun while doing it. This can spice up your day. And do a raid while you're at it. Pick a weekly instance that you don't know the tier sets from. Have fun with it. Tip number 3, random vendors. While you're out traveling in the world, check the vendors, regardless of where you are. See a lonely vendor? Stop and say hello. Some of them sell BOEs you may not know, recipes that are unique, or even food or potions that have some sort of neat effect. Better yet, post this cool stuff on the auction house. Someone might want it, and it may be worth more than you realize. Tip number 2, gold world quests. Doing world quests for gold may not be the most time-efficient activity, but it is raw gold. No auction house needed. This isn't just for BFA though. Legion world content is silly easy if you're 120, and some of these world quests still give 100 to 200 gold, specifically the ones on Argus. If you have all of Makari open, you'll have a lot of world quests unlocked. I've noticed the ones that give the most are the elite kill quests. Those mobs aren't so elite now that you're 120. Tip number 1, upsmelting. I'm sure there's a proper name for this, like a form of flipping, but I call it upsmelting. This is buying cloth, ore, motes, etc., and turning them into bolts, bars, and whatever their combined form is. Not farming for this stuff, just using what's already on the auction house. It's super important to check prices first before you do this. You're dealing with profit margins here, which is different than selling outright. Make sure whatever you buy is cheaper than what you'll be selling. Include how many it takes to craft the larger item too. My example here are motes and spirits of harmony from Pandaria. The motes here are selling for 7G apiece. The spirits are at 60. That seems good, right? No. It takes 10 motes to make one spirit, so you'd be losing gold if you did this. Another example would be cobalt. The ore here is selling for 20 gold apiece, and the bars are 50. It takes 2 ore to make 1 bar. Hey, that's a profit. You get the idea. Just find items like this that give you profit you're okay with, and smelt away. Bonus tip, Rogue Haul Weekly. If you've got a Rogue 110 or higher, you should do this. In your class hall in Legion, pick up the quest to pickpocket coins of air. This quest is weekly and gives 1232 gold. It's super simple and will take less than 10 minutes. Granted, it isn't much, but it's fun and it's 1200 more gold than you had before. Okay, those are some simple, lazy tips to make some gold while you're out and about doing things. I like variety, and I hope this list spiced up your day. And remember, it's never too latte. And that's it. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and poke that bell for more Coffee Field content. Leave a comment down below if you liked it, and remember, it's never too latte.
Except it is. Because the only thing I need gold for is the fucking Brachiosaurus mount. That thing is gone, or will be gone in a few months, maybe. Well, yeah, definitely a few months.
I see the corruption within.
It's still recharging.
Sees all.
Beware.
I see the corruption within. Peels away to expose rot.
It's not ready yet. I need to get closer. It's still recharging.
Boom.
Beware.
See the corruption within.
I can't use that item yet. I'm out of range.
See the corruption within.
I can't use that.
Beware.
Recharging.
Pass beyond. Shall drown in the dark.
Contamination sanitized. Anchor deployment initiated.
Good work, champions. The world is better off without Il'gynoth and his maddening whispers. Though, take heed. His prophecies were meant to drive his victims insane. Now that he's gone, just put them out of your mind for good.
It's not ready yet. I can't use that item yet.
What?
So, you know what? I've been thinking about it. I think 500 herb challenge is a bad name for what we're doing here. We're trying to farm up herbs and have them not sell. So, it's like reverse herbalism. How about that? How about the reverse herbalism challenge? They all sold. Hey there guys, this is Reckles with Want to Buy Gold, and this isn't a guide. I just had a fun idea for a neat little challenge for you guys. So one of the problems with gold making, especially for new players, is there's a lot of focus on raw gold, and really just, if you just use your professions, even if they're gathering professions, you will be fine. And I bet if you try to stock the auction house, you will have trouble keeping enough raw materials up on the auction house. So today's challenge is the 500 Xenanthid challenge. Okay, step one, we're gonna do one lap around Najatar, get a whole bunch of herbs. Whenever we get back to our home base, we're going to mail all these herbs off to our posting tune. Here's my posting tune. He's a little fox. He's for testing, so he's testes. Okay, and then we're gonna go back over to our gatherer, and we're going to do another lap, and then we're gonna mail these over to our posting tune. They're gonna post it up on the auction house. Rinse, repeat until we have 500 herbs up on the auction house. So the 500 herb challenge is trying to do it in as few laps as possible. Let's get to it. Okay, step one, we're gonna set up a route for us, and it looks like routes is broken. So okay, we'll just go based off memory and a little intuition. And for some reason I have crafting and not gathering glove enchants, so gotta go fix that real quick. Put that, yeah. And then the next step, just for fun, we're going to make a week aura, just showing us how much of the ore we have. So we're going to go to status, item count, item name, Xenanthid. Invalid item name. Okay, 1 second. The item the item ID for Xenanthid is 168487. So there we go. It found it. So then we'll put this up here. There we go. I think we're good. All right, let's go. Lap one. Oh, we got a multi-boxer out here. Them damn dirty multi-boxers. They get me so mad. Okay, just finished lap one. It was like a 2-minute lap, and I think I just realized a problem. So my normal lap for farming Xenanthid, rather than going around the whole zone, my normal lap is just this nice cute little lap around the Crimson, whatever, Calthamir. I just fly around here, this little peach route here. But if the goal is to do it in as few laps as possible, then I want to do the whole zone. But rules are rules. That I finished one lap and it was a lame too short lap, so doesn't matter. We're gonna send it off to our posting tune, and we're gonna post it up. Okay, here we go. And you know what? I'm not even gonna use Trade Skill Master to sell these, but y'all do get to look into my bags and see maybe previews of upcoming videos. Or maybe they're videos that already came out. I don't know. Release schedule and editorial calendar is weird, especially with Shadowlands coming out. Here we go. Just a nice, pretty lap. Also, if anyone from Blizzard is watching, I have all my world quests turned off, and these Prismatic Mana Pearl quests still show up. I'm flying a little high. Honestly, I've been farming and testing so many things that like I'm a little rusty, a little out of practice with actually like just herbing. So I gotta get used to being back down low to the ground. Alright, I think we're gonna go up around Kelmethir here, and then go up to this scary part up here. Huh? Not a single herb in here. Oh, we got one. We got one. There's usually just a whole bunch in this little cave. This is kind of an area that most people ignore. Gabe, I don't think you understand. I need all the herbs to be up. I need as many herbs per lap to win this challenge. Otherwise, all of my subscribers are gonna beat me. Oh, and if y'all are wondering how I'm looting the flowers so quickly, I have an add-on called Faster Loot, along with the Glove Enchant that decreases your cast time whenever you're gathering. It's actually kind of interesting. It works for surveying too. Wait, I'm thinking of Darkmoon Firewater. Darkmoon Firewater decreases the cast time of herbalism and mining and also surveying. So if you're ever farming the Vial of the Sands recipe, you can use Darkmoon Firewater and that'll speed you right up. Oh, this lap is way better. We already have 100.
Slavers has invaded the area. Tear those snakes apart.
All right, lap number 2 done, and we got 160 herbs. So let's send these over to Testes. We've got 181 posted up, and luckily none of them have sold yet. What a weird thing for a gold maker to say. Like, oh, thank God. Thank goodness. None of my Xanthid have sold yet. Oh, and I forgot to stop the timer. Oh, I should move it up here. I forgot to stop the timer, but that first lap was about 10 minutes. So 160 herbs in 10 minutes. What is that? What is that multiplied by? So is that 960 herbs per hour? It feels like a lot. Oh, I forgot this area up here. So my secret strategy for this is that I started this like super early in the morning. It was like, there we go. It was like super early in the morning when I started my laps. So hopefully I'll be able to get all these up on the auction house before everyone starts to log on and buy everything. So I'm hoping there aren't any like early risers or super night owls like myself on Zul'jin, one of the most populated servers out there. I dig it. So we're gonna kind of do like a horseshoe shape, like that's not what a horseshoe looks like. You know what? I feel bad. I'm gonna help this guy kill. I'm gonna help this guy kill the boss. I don't know if y'all can see, but my little 4 button there. It's an add-on called GSE, a Gnome Sequencer Enhance. And it's just one button. It's like a really complicated cast sequence macro. I thought when I first used it that my DPS would go down, but it turns out I am a bad druid. Okay, so we finished lap number 2. We started lap number 2 at about 12 minutes, and we finished it at 23. So that lap, even stopping and helping that guy, only took 11 minutes. We only got 91 though, so I don't know.
Have I got a deal for you?
Okay, got those posted up, and good, nothing's sold yet. Okay, everything's posted. We're at 272 total farmed, and we are starting lap number 3. Let's go. No, lap number 4. I can count. Okay, and we are finishing up lap 3. Nothing real exciting, or lap 4. Damn it. Nothing real exciting happened this lap. No friendly death knights. No, but one. It was our fastest lap. Finished it in the whole zone in about 7 minutes, and got awkwardly few herbs. Only 46. Competition on high pop servers is really weird sometimes. Sometimes some laps are 160, some laps are 45. So whatever, we're gonna keep going.
I know a buyer.
All right, lap number 5. We're at 318 posted on the auction house. If none of them sell, and if we have a really good lap, we can finish this challenge up right now. we're halfway through the lap and we only have 25. This isn't... This is so, like, awkwardly exciting for farming, where I'm like, no, gotta go faster. Like, I'm always pushing for efficiency, but it's fun to have it, like, if you're trying to get as many up as possible before the previous ones you posted sold, like, suddenly you care a lot more about efficiency because it matters. This is fun. This is a good idea.
Summoned an enormous beast from the depths.
Okay, even stopping for the world boss, that took us 10 minutes 30 seconds, but we only got 41 ore, so we keep going down. Like, our lap yields have gone from 160, 91, 48, 41. Oh shit, some guy posted up 12,000 Xanthid. Undercut? Alright, so we gotta cancel. We gotta stay the cheapest. We can't just overcut. Alright, let's go. Oh shit, we got the multi-boxer. You know what, for this lap, let's follow the multi-boxer. He's got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh shit, he's got a full 10 right there. That's a 2-account multi-boxer. He knows what to do, but I'm not going to be able to I'm not going to be able to follow along and gather the herbs. Okay, so here's an interesting question. So, multi-boxers are... I don't have a problem with them. Like, they're paying for it. I am a multi-boxer. But when I'm competing with them, like, sure, it's frustrating or whatever. But it's like... Okay, so in Legion, they changed herb nodes to where 10 people can click them. But as you can see, that guy, after he clicks one of the herb nodes, no one else can come along and click it, because he has 10 tunes. Now, one Battle.net account can hold up to 8 World of Warcraft accounts. You can have, it's like an umbrella. You can have 8 WoW accounts underneath one Battle.net. And then any account-bound stuff is shared among all the WoW accounts underneath that Battle.net. But, so to get to 10, you have to grind out pathfinding on 2 accounts. So, like, good job him grinding out pathfinding on 2 accounts. He went through a lot of hassle just to get those 2 extra characters. But, I don't know, like, it doesn't feel wrong to go along with a group of 10 and take up every tag off a node, but it kinda does. Like, it feels, I don't know, it feels like a jerk move. Like, I've never been mining or herbing and felt like, oh, I shouldn't have clicked that because there was a guy coming. There was someone else farming out here, and I stole his node. Like, I've never felt that. I've always been 100% okay mining and herbing with 8 accounts. I don't know. I'm curious. Anyone out there who has 10 accounts, how do you feel about that? You know what it's like? You know what this question's like? It's like it's the same thing as if you're out doing.
Fuck you.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So when you know it, Friday, Newswave goes up, and then boom, PlayStation 5 event announced for Thursday. Yeah, well, we did a predictions video on Saturday here, and then I also posted that day on the second channel for the announcement. But Thursday had that to look forward to for the PlayStation 5, and some more interviews have been going around from Jim Ryan, and it's giving us an idea as to what we're going to see there, and a tweet went out that, again, gives us a hint towards a certain developer that we've been wanting to hear from, finally revealing their game there. Exciting stuff. And then we have to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, because we had some early sales rankings, we'll say, for it, and surprise, surprise, the Switch works to sell another game really well. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps out a ton. If you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're going to start today with the PlayStation 4 and I guess the PlayStation 5, as we're all wondering, okay, how is this transition from the PS4 to the PS5 going to work exactly? Because a lot of us probably have a ton of games on the PS4, and we're still waiting for clear-cut confirmation or even examples of PS4 games playing on the PS5, and if developers all around will follow suit for a PS4 game that maybe comes out this holiday, also working on the PS5. Well, Eurogamer appears to have gained access to documents around development for the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5, and it looks like there is basically a box that says, yes, my game is compatible going through certification with the PS5. Now, this appears to be in place for any game that's submitted after July, so games now that are submitted necessarily won't have to check a little box that says it does work with the PS5, and it doesn't look like it has to take advantage of the PS5's extra horsepower. It just needs to be able to run. Basically just start up, run without any major errors or glitches, and we're good. That's kind of it. But it is good to know that Sony is at least looking into that now and saying, yeah guys, anything past July, it's got to work with the PlayStation 5, because, I mean, a lot of us are going to make that move, and we want to be confident in any games we get this holiday, or even at the start of next year, just working on our PS5. Also, we had this really strange Nintendo patent, but I guess it kind of points towards an amiibo that's like a plush, sort of what we saw with like Yoshi's Woolly World. Well, check this out here. Japanese Nintendo pointed this patent out, and you see some images for it. And it reads, Nintendo has applied for a toy patent in Japan, which intends to prevent damage to an IC tag even when the outer surface is made of a relatively soft material, which of course, everyone starts immediately thinking of the Yoshi that was kind of like made out of yarn, right? And you could buy that along with the game, and it was pretty cool, and it would work as an amiibo, even though it was this massive, like, thing that was all, like, plush. It was kind of a neat idea, and it was something fun to get with the game, or even, I guess, buy separately. But it does make you wonder what Nintendo could be planning around this, because it was reapplied for, like, right at the end of May, so just a few days ago, and it was published then. So that does make you think that Nintendo could have something in mind. I almost thought, like, what if they were doing a Pikmin game, and you could get, like, the little Pikmin, and they're, like, just basically plush, and you can scan them in? That'd be kind of neat, right? That's just an idea, but who knows? They could even do a whole nother Yoshi game like a year or two from now and then release like a Yoshi plush. It's hard to say, but it is interesting that Nintendo is continuing with that idea. Also, if you are one of the 10 people still playing Killzone Mercenary on the Vita, you may have noticed pretty recently that it doesn't work anymore. Actually, over the weekend, people on Reddit started to communicate about this and say, hey, are you guys able to play online? Because I can't. And it went as far as to someone actually contacting Sony's customer support, and they told them that it appeared that the servers were shut down and there was no access for you to play online.
No.
And to be honest, I'm actually more surprised that the servers were still up, because it was on the Vita, and Sony likes to pretend like the Vita doesn't exist at all. And look, eventually they will move beyond the Vita. They'll just completely forget about it, discontinue it, and that's it, because they don't even sell the thing anymore. So the online services will be cut off eventually, and I'm a little surprised that they haven't moved faster with this and just cut it off completely. It's good that they still technically support the games there, but like with Killzone, which was a big time game for that platform, getting cut off from their servers and the online doesn't even work anymore, it does make you wonder how much longer the Vita has left on Sony's kind of their online ecosystem. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I've been playing this, I'm about 10 hours in now, so I've been playing it off and on as I've had time. I started to grind a bit for levels earlier on, but I'm still pressing through the story, and it's pretty fun. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, the visuals are like at times in handheld mode, but I've kind of gotten used to it in dock mode, and it's pretty enjoyable. It definitely looks better than the Wii version in dock mode, obviously, when you see it. But there was the question of how would Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition sell? Because, well, the original one struggled because of its releases. The new 3DS, and then of course when it came out on the Wii, the boxes being opened by GameStop and resold for enormous prices. It had staggered releases. It was a whole thing just to get it over to North America. Well, we did at least have some numbers or some rankings come out in the UK, and you can see the sales charts here, and yes, that's right, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is #1. Animal Crossing is 2, actually got knocked out of the #1 spot by Xenoblade. That's pretty good there. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is there at 3, Grand Theft Auto 5 at 4, FIFA 20 is at 5, and then Days Gone is interesting at 6. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order there at 7, Minecraft at 8, that's on the Switch specifically, Last of Us Remastered at 9, and then PlayStation VR Worlds at 10. Now overall, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition sold twice as many boxed copies as it did when it launched on the Wii back in 2011. That's pretty good, but it did sell slightly less than Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which released in like the first week of December, so it's hard to say if it had any kind of holiday numbers for like being there right in December. Maybe people were already buying a Switch and they decided to pick that up as well. But either way, look, these are JRPGs that typically don't sell massive numbers, but there's Xenoblade at #1 on the sales charts in the UK. Now I'm really curious to see, one, how it does in Japan, of course, when we get just hard numbers straight up as to, well, this is it. It did so many thousands of units. But then, of course, in the NPD sales charts, because keep in mind, this is a game that had a hard enough time getting North America, and then I don't even think as many people really knew about it in the mainstream when it did come out. It was definitely for, like, the diehard fans who really, really wanted that game over, but it showed up, got great reviews, and people really liked it. So it's good to see it releasing again and doing well on the sales charts. We'll just have to keep an eye out for how it does other places as well. But so far, so good for Xenoblade. Hey, look at that. Xenoblade's #1, and then Animal Crossing is #2. So, so far, things are going pretty well for Nintendo in the UK. Oh, and I do think at this time, I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition doing well. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sold well. I know Monolith is working on their next big project, but, let's go get Xenoblade Chronicles X and move that one up. Let's give that one another shot outside of the Wii U. I think it deserves it because that game was actually pretty good, and with some quality of life improvements thrown in there, could kind of take it to the next level. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation 5. We, of course, have that event coming up on Thursday. Very exciting. But Jim Ryan has been making the rounds and talking a bit about their strategy, and it is completely different than Microsoft's, it seems. Microsoft has stated several times now that any of the games that really come out during this cross-gen period, so they're thinking it could be up to 2 years. I'm thinking it'll be closer to like a year and a half, maybe even a year. But anything that releases on the next Xbox, the Series X, will also be available on the Xbox One, going all the way back even to that old VCR model from 2013. People are concerned that it will hold games back. Overall, Sony is going a different route. Jim Ryan has continued to push the idea that the PlayStation 5 will just have outright exclusives that are only available on next-gen hardware. They're not looking to do this, like, bridge the gap necessarily for every game. Some games will be absolutely cross-gen. I'm sure Sony will still have some games that you can get on the PS4 and the PS5, and they are first-party. But Sony is looking to make the transition to the PS5, as they have said, pretty quickly, as quick as possible, and as seamless as possible. Now, I would think that pricing would be a big part of that, because of course, if you get up to the $500 or even $600, I don't think it'll be that much, but I guess you never know, it'll be harder to kind of move over to that system just because people can't buy the system. But if it is maybe even cheaper, or if there are just outright compelling games, well, yeah, people will have to buy it. Now, that's going to come down to what they show at this event coming up, but they're still, as they say, shooting even for a global launch. So this is going to be what they did with the PS4, where they had staggered releases where it launched first in the US, and then a few months later, so at the end of 2013 it was in the US, and then at the beginning of 2014 it launched in Japan, and I believe Europe even was a week after the North American release. It looks like they're just trying to launch globally all at once, I guess in the same week. Now, it could be slightly off by a day or two, but they seem to be going big with this PS5 launch, and that means they need big games. And one of the most anticipated reveals appears to be heading there on Thursday, and it's exciting stuff because it looks like, yes, Blue Point will be showing their game. It's been this massive tease for what's felt like over a year now, maybe almost 2 years, right? They, of course, have Shadow of the Colossus, then we heard that they're moving to another project. Well, check this out. This is on Twitter. This is from Peter Dalton, who's the CTO technical director at Blue Point Games, who quote tweeted the PlayStation announcement for that PS5 event and saying, "I'm so excited for the future. It's time to push forward and leave our old gaming limitations behind us," which has indeed led to speculation and belief that, yes, Blue Point will be there, and it'll probably be Demon's Souls, but the word is that Demon's Souls, or this game they're working on, looks amazing. It looks incredible, so that's how you do it. You gotta sell it with visuals, scope of the game, loading time, all of that stuff. show us why we need to buy that PS5. But if it's only on the PS5, as Jim Ryan continues to push, big global launch, and you got games like a brand new remake of Demon's Souls from Bluepoint, along with some first-party games from Sony, yeah, it's gonna be compelling and get people on board pretty quick. Next up, let's talk about Google Stadia and actually Strauss Zelnick from Take-Two. We've heard, of course, of Stadia being an exciting idea for publishers because they can break down the walls of the need for an expensive box or game console, and you can just deliver it straight to the customer. The only problem we're seeing is Google Stadia didn't really excite people as much as I guess these publishers and developers were hoping. They didn't hit the ground running as much as they wanted them to, and now we're hearing people like Strauss Zelnick kind of talk a different light about Google Stadia. This we had to say at a conference recently. The launch of Stadia has been slow. I think there was some over-promising on what the technology could deliver and some consumer disappointment as a result. Anytime you broaden distribution, you potentially broaden your audience, which is why we supported the release of Stadia with 3 titles initially, and we'll continue to support high-quality streaming services as long as the business model makes sense. Over time, I believe streaming will work. The belief that streaming was going to be transformative was based on a view that there were loads of people who really had an interest in interactive entertainment, really wanted to pay for it, but just didn't want to have a console. I'm not sure that turned out to be the case, and yeah, he's kind of right there if you think about it, right? Right now, like, everyone was thinking, okay, if you don't need a box to, like, buy a $500, $400, whatever box, and you just click a button and you can play a game, yeah, everyone's gonna do it. That didn't really turn out to be the case. Now, I will say, I think some of this had to do, obviously, with Stadia, the marketing, their ideas, and the launch of the thing. I mean, like, they had so many features they talked about, including YouTube integration, and it hasn't happened yet. And it's been a little while, right? It's just, it didn't hit the ground running like they wanted it to, and now you have people like Strauss Zelnick even questioning the service. Now, there's also a possibility, as we've kind of discussed before on, like, the podcast, that well, Take-Two could just do their own streaming service. Maybe that's an idea they have, and maybe they feel like they could market it better and have a better lineup with their library of IPs and games, and they control Grand Theft Auto, so yeah, I mean, that would get people on board. Overall, I don't think they would keep it like exclusive, but I mean, if it's there, right? We'll see how they continue to support Stadia, and if Stadia can continue to rebound a bit. They have started to, but they've had to do a lot to try to get anyone really using it by making the service almost basically free with the Pro service for a few months there. So we'll see how Take-Two continues to go with the streaming services, but I almost feel like a lot of these publishers saw Stadia, thought it would have been great, didn't turn out the best at launch, and now they're all kind of stepping back and saying, wait, can we do it better? And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Hideo Kojima and, of course, Kojima Productions. Death Stranding came out. It's also coming out now pretty soon on the PC. And there were a lot of questions as to how this game performed for Kojima in terms of money and revenue and sales, and if he'd be able to continue, because we didn't really hear a lot about it. Like, Sony didn't really mention it. Kojima didn't mention it. We didn't really see it on sales charts like that. It kind of just disappeared. So there was concern. Well, it looks like in a recent interview, Kojima has confirmed that they at least broke even on Death Stranding, and that, of course, with the PC release coming up, they should be able to eventually just outright make money from the game. But I do also wonder how excited Sony was with it, because, again, they didn't really talk too much about it at all after release with the sales performance. But Kojima also mentioned that they were working on getting their next project ready, but he's recently had a project canceled on him. Now he says the game industry in particular, which is good, because I almost wondered if he was thinking about doing a movie or film of some kind, but he does mention games industry. That could be with any publisher, rights holder for an IP, or who knows, or just another company that he wanted to work with. It could have been Sony, and they were like, nah, you know what? Not gonna do this whole thing again with another Death Stranding type game. But I am curious what Kojima could come up with, because while people don't necessarily like Death Stranding, trust me, it's a very divisive game. You gotta give him credit with how creative the game is, right? I mean, really, if you look at it, you go like, yeah, okay, that's definitely a game I've never played before, that kind of game. So we'll see what he comes up with, but I am glad to hear at least that he broke even and that he can try something else. And we'll see if any other company comes to him and attempts to pitch an idea with him and they collaborate again. But I'm kind of thinking it won't be Sony. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Silver saying, I'm hoping that last Nintendo one is Metroid Prime Trilogy. And this is going back to those stock keeping units that we talked about from Amazon France, where there were a couple from Nintendo and everyone was kind of guessing at what they could be. I like the idea of Metroid Prime Trilogy, but there is a rumor right now going around that Nintendo will announce something soonish, and with my luck, it'll be like an hour after Newswave goes up. It could be a 2D Metroid, it could be Metroid Prime Trilogy. The rumors seem to be looking at Metroid in general. If it's neither of those, I'm really unsure as to what else it could be, because those are two rumored projects. Unless they just want to show us a trailer for Metroid Prime 4, just a cinematic trailer to kind of get us an idea as to what we're going to expect here with Metroid Prime 4. But hey, if they want to drop the Prime Trilogy Collection, I don't know, in like August or September, I'd be good with that. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is Xenoblade and how well the sales have been so far in the UK. We'll see more sales numbers coming out here in the next few days. But, I mean, Xenoblade's doing pretty well, and maybe it is time to get Chronicles X and move that up to the Switch as well, right? Why not? And then also let me know what you think about the PlayStation 5 and them kind of leaning more into exclusives rather than just games that will also be on the PS4 that could potentially hold the PlayStation 5 back. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.
For an old guard who claims to see everything, you are blind to the threat before you.
Hey there guys, this is Reckles with Want to Buy Gold, and we haven't done like a legit go out here and farm this gold guide in a while, so I'm excited to do one. Let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about recipes. Now, all the recipes we're going to be talking about today are blacksmithing recipes, so if you have a blacksmith, make sure to learn the first copy of these that you get. You'll be able to craft stuff that sells for just a ton of gold. You'll be able to make more gold in the long run. But if you don't have blacksmithing, that's fine. These are all BOE recipes, and they're all farmed using somewhat different means. Try all of these out. If any of them interest you particularly, then you can just go ahead on the Undermine Journal, sort the plans by price, and then see if any of those tickle your fancy. Okay, the first plans we're talking about today are the Arcanite Reaper plans. These drop off a rare elite spawn in Lower Blackrock Spire named Bannock Grimaxe, who is the reigning champion of the most World of Warcraft name ever, 15 years running. The farm is super simple. Go to Blackrock Cavern. There's inside Blackrock Cavern, you take a right, there's a little ledge, you fly in the ledge, and Lower Blackrock Spire is in the middle of the room on the right. Now, before you go in, I would recommend you make a targeting macro, and not just a /target Bannock, but I would also include a reset instance macro in there, and this makes this farm incredibly easy. Okay, stay with me. Stay with me. We're going to walk in the instance. We're going to hit our macro. If we don't target anything, we're going to walk out the instance, and we're going to hit our macro again. And it'll reset the instance. And then we go back in. And that's it. That's the farm. Now, if he does spawn, if he is up, he is a rare elite, then getting to him is really, really simple. You take your first left, and then you just follow the right-hand wall. You have to jump down a ledge or two. He spawns in one of 3 locations. There's a little circular rug on the ground. And now, if you're doing this on Classic, then you may need some invisibility potions. Bring some of those along. But if you're doing this on Live, you can just run through and kill whatever. Once you've killed him, I just dream walk out, because Dreamwalk and Zen Meditation both allow you to exit a dungeon, and then when you recast it, you enter the dungeon back in outside, so you can reset and continue your farm. If you aren't on a druid or a monk, I guess just jump into the lava, like take off your gear and jump into the lava. I don't know. But I went out here and timed myself, and I was able to get through the entire run in 5 minutes 42 seconds. He spawned twice for me. So if you can beat that time, I challenge everyone watching, if you can go out there and farm this 10 times and beat 5 minutes 42 seconds, put your time down in the comments, and we'll have a little race. But I didn't just time myself. I've also been multi-boxing recently, not just to give away the Brutosaur month to you guys, but I'm also excited to be multi-boxing because it means I get to give you guys more accurate data. With my 8-man team, I was able to farm this instance 519 times. In those 519 times, he spawned 88 times. That's about 1 in 6. He'll be up on average about 2 times every lockout. And I got 10 patterns. So let's just say 1 out of 50. Which means with a 5-minute run and a 1 in 50 chance, it's going to take you a combined 25 minutes in order to farm this. Now, if you don't have it and you have a blacksmith, I'd recommend you just park a druid outside and just every hour that passes, like, go run it again. I personally go farm the Rebellious Imp from Mother Rossula, and then I go hit up the Lanticore, and then I spend my remaining 9 runs on this. And final thoughts on the Arcanite Champion. Yes, this works on both Classic and Retail, but if you're doing this on Classic, be geared and bring some invisibility potions. But for you experienced gold makers, what I want you to take away from this video is that lockouts are a resource. You know, we've done videos on how speed is a resource, density is a resource. But I also want you to think about your lockouts being a resource, and like you only have 10 lockouts an hour. How do you use those the most efficient way possible? You know, if your goal is maximizing gold per hour and being the richest person on your server, then you probably want to do transmog farming. But if your goal is to make gold in the least amount of time dedicated possible, then you probably want to look at something like this. Alright, the next recipe we're going to talk about is the Sulfuron Hammer. This one's neat. It's a lot quicker to talk about. So, important things to note, this is once per character, it's not farmable, and it requires the Sulfuron Ingot. So, essentially, go to your auction house and buy a Sulfuron Ingot. If there aren't any up, you can go run Molten Core and try to get one. It only drops off Golemag, and it's a pretty rare drop rate. I think it's like 1 in 20 now. It got nerfed. But you take that Sulfuron Ingot over to, Lactose Dark Bargainer, and if you have a Sulfuron Ingot in your bags, he'll have a little dialogue option down at the bottom of him. Now, if you don't know how to get to Lactose Dark Bargainer, then I'll include a video down in the description. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of the dungeon, but it is a really confusing, sprawling dungeon. So follow along with that video carefully. But that's actually it. You take a Sulfuron Ingot, you take it to Lactose Dark Bargainer, you click on the dialogue option, and he gives you a pattern when you complete the quest. You don't have to have blacksmithing to do this. It's once per character, and the pattern's sellable. So get out and do this. This is free gold. It's 100,000 gold pattern. On some of your servers, this is 100,000 gold pattern. Yeah, it'll take a little while to sell, and for some of you, it'll only sell for like 5 or 10K. But who cares? Free gold eventually is still free gold. Post it up. Okay, for our third pattern, we're going out for something that probably transmog farmers would enjoy. Something where you gotta put in a little bit more work. So this is Karazhan, and we are farming the Felsteel Longblade. And Felsteel Longblade is a super low drop rate item. It's like 1 in 10,000, and is, oh wait, hold on, I'm not a fire cat. There we go. It's 1 in 10,000, and because it's so low drop rate, it sells for, like, it's posted for between 100,000 and a million gold. Like the cheapest is 150,000 up right now. So as you can see, we went through the stables, we killed everyone in the stables, and now we're getting all the guards. Make sure you don't tag midnight, because that'll start a boss fight. If you start any of the boss fights, then the trash won't respawn for the rest of the week. Let's see, once we get into the kitchen, or the scullery, we kill all these guys, and then we get everyone who is just trying to enjoy a nice meal. So these guys right here are the first, like, you can drag everyone into one big loot and kill pile if you want, but I would recommend killing these as you go, because they cast a goblin rocket gun. Here, let me pull all these guys together and see if we can show off the goblin rocket gun. Is anyone? There we go. So those guys will stop and cast the goblin rocket gun like every 5 feet. It's really annoying. But this is the end of the first 2-minute lap, and if you don't have a druid or a monk, then you just end the lap right here. You know, you go down these stairs and you head to the left. But if you have a druid or a monk, then you have Dreamwalk and Zen meditation, and you can reset a dungeon by just, you know, essentially a hearthing and then a hearthing back. So I'll show you how I do this on a druid or a monk. You can get a little bit, a little more kills per hour with this. So you just go on into the opera hall and grab all these guys. And while I could probably just swipe them down, I don't know. I like getting a big kill pile, hiding behind a column, and having everyone group up. I don't know, it just feels good. Feels good. So That is the end of my run, and because I'm a druid, I can just dreamwalk, and because I killed all the guys earlier who have the goblin guns, I'm not in combat, so I can dreamwalk. There's a reason behind everything, and that's it. It's 250 kills in every 3-minute lap, and that means you're going to have an average of 50 laps before you get the pattern, you know, expected value. Is it worth it? Right now on my server, it's about 500,000 gold for the patterns. In 50 laps with 3 minutes per lap, that's 150 minutes before we get the pattern, 150 minutes for 500k. So, you know, is 2.5 hours worth it if you get one thing that eventually will sell for 500k? Well, for some of you, it's totally going to be worth it. That's 200,000 gold an hour. Like, absolutely, make it happen. But some of you don't like transmog. You don't like things that take a little while to sell, even if they're big ticket items. So it's not going to be worthwhile to you. The whole point of the channel is to give y'all enough different ways of making gold that you find something you enjoy. And those are the farms. We've got a super fast, repeatable, rare elite farm. We've got a one-time only per character farm. And then we've got a super low drop rate pattern from Karazhan. If I left out any recipes that you think are super duper important, then let me know down in the comments. But otherwise, if you like the guide, hit like, that really helps me out. If you
I think that Germany's system does a really good job of making politics not so divisive and making it more about what you would like to see in your country. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Montana, and if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I was an exchange student in Germany for August until March when I was sent back home, and today I'm going to be making a video about political culture shocks that I noticed as a student or just as an American living in Germany. And they range from things in the classroom to political elections, and so that is my topic for today. Hopefully the things that I'm talking about aren't too controversial. They're just honestly things that shocked me at first as an American being in the country. So my first one has to do, sorry if the lighting's changing, there's sun coming out. The first one has to do with separation of church and state in the US. So basically in the US there aren't a lot of religion courses, or at least in my school there aren't, because there's this direct separation of church and state, and it's pretty serious. Like, there was this whole scandal at my high school one time because the Christian club had painted a mural, and then that was kind of against the codes of the school. It was this whole big thing. But anyway, I was very surprised to come to German school and see that they have religion class 5th through 12th grade in my school at least, and it seemed very common to have religion classes in Germany. In my school there was a Protestant class and then Catholic, and then if you didn't want to take religion you could take ethics, but that was just a shock for me. And then another shock was seeing in every classroom where I was in Bavaria, keep in mind, there was a cross above the door normally, but sometimes it was just in another part of the classroom, and that really surprised me at first because you would not see that in American classrooms unless it was in like a private Christian school, which you'd have to pay to go to, and that's a whole separate thing. But for the majority, public schools in America do not have an affiliation with religions, and so that's very much avoided. Another political shock was just that people in Germany tend to be way more liberal than in the US. I guess that's just how the government system there is set up, and I never found that as a bad thing. It was just a shock to me because I didn't realize how much more liberal they tended to be in comparison to people in the US. Another political culture shock that I received was the overall questioning about Donald Trump. And as soon as someone would find out I'm American, that would be the first question: do you like your president? And in general, there's an overall hatred for Donald Trump in Germany, which I can kind of understand. Another school political culture shock was that in English class we talked about politics a lot, and it was at a very high level English. I was super surprised to get into English class and to be discussing things like the stiff upper lip in Great Britain and how the social class systems of Britain are influencing the country even today. And we talked about American politics and how it differs from German politics, and all of the conversations were just very eye-opening, especially the ones involving American politics, because it was cool to see how Germans are learning about how our government works and how our presidents are being chosen, because the system is so different from Germany's. I was just really surprised, because if you were to take a German class in America, you likely wouldn't be learning about German politics. You would just be learning the language. It was very interesting to see how the advanced English classes are able to talk about government and political issues. So I thought that was super cool. Those were all of my political culture shocks in regards to like school and society kind of. And now I'm going to talk about some of the political differences I saw when it comes to local elections or running to be a candidate. As soon as I was leaving my city, Passau, they were having elections, and they had posters everywhere, and I would see them, and so this is kind of how I got the idea to make this video. And it really surprised me how many candidates there were running for election and how different they all seemed from each other. I even saw a girl running who was, I think, 18 or under 20. That was insane to me, because I have never been so close or so involved in local government here where I live, just because it's not advertised as much. It's something that you need to step out of your way to do. And honestly, being in Germany has inspired me to do that and to get more involved in local politics here. But having seen all of the advertisements for politicians in Passau, it was definitely a shock to see so many candidates running. And it was also a shock to see people running that we personally knew. So I may have knew one or two of the people running, but my host family was telling me how a good number of the people on the ballot they personally have connections to, whether it be a baker in the neighborhood, or the mom of my host brother's closest friend, or just people that they grew up knowing. And so it's really cool to see that local politics truly are local there, in Germany at least, and that they can be young people in college, or they're not all old people or older people. They're younger people trying to get their word out there too and really represent what they want in their government. That was a big difference, because in the US the majority of people running for office are over the age of 30 or 40 and tend to not represent the younger populations. Another, when it comes to elections, like a political difference that I found is that Germany has so many political parties. It's less divisive than in the US, because with our two-party system it's so divisive, and politics are kind of a taboo topic. Like, you don't bring them up with people that you don't know so well, or especially with people that you do know very well and you don't share the same political opinions, because it can be very divisive, honestly. I think that Germany's system does a really good job of making politics not so divisive and making it more about what you would like to see in your country. And there's like the Green Party, there's CDU, there's SPD, there's so many political parties. Unfortunately, I couldn't remember every single one of them, but it was really cool to see how many different parties there were. Also, I was asking my host family, when it comes to just local elections, how are so many people able to run? Because this was honestly one of the biggest culture shocks for me, is that in the US, it costs so much money to run for a political office. And it costs money even on a local level. Like, I mean, running for president costs millions and millions. Like, only the really rich people can honestly run for president, because it costs so much money. But on senator levels and even local levels, it costs a ton of money to run. Whereas in Germany, they said it's not as expensive likely, and that politics is less about the money and more about the representation. And I think that's really inspirational, and I wish it was more like that in the US, because here, although some people manage to do it, and there are ways to run even if you don't have a lot of money, in general it is very hard to run for office without having a sufficient amount of funding behind you. Okay, so those were all of my shocks when it comes to running for office. My last political culture shock doesn't really have to do with elections. Instead, it's just about the number of immigrants that are currently living in Germany, or people in Germany who have parents not from the country. I honestly had no clue that Germany was such a mixing bowl of people, because I just assumed that they were all German, which was a bad assumption on my part. I should have done more research before going. But I thought it was really interesting to come to school and see that a lot of people are either first-generation immigrants or they have parents who aren't from Germany. For example, one of my closest friends, her mom was from Poland, and then there were a ton of Russian people in Passau, so I swam with two girls who were both Russian. I think there was another boy in my class who was Bulgarian, another best friend of mine, her mom was Bulgarian, and then there were also some people from Romania, and then even one of my best friends from swim, she was Ungarish, or from Hungary in English. I didn't realize how many people in Germany aren't 100% German, and that was a really cool aspect of living in Passau. Maybe it's not the same in all parts of Germany, so let me know in the comments below if your population or your city is also full of immigrants or full of very diverse people. I thought it was really cool to meet people and hear about different cultures that weren't just German, because then I could experience other places of Europe that maybe I didn't know a lot about before moving to Germany. So that was my last culture shock. These were just some things that I didn't know or that I thought were cool. If you have any comments about points that I made, please leave them down below and I'll read and try to respond to them. Yeah, hopefully you come back for more videos next time about Germany or about the US. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. Cheers!
Hi everyone, it's Az here from Heel vs. Babyface. We're going to be a little bit more relaxed for this video. Nothing to get stressed about here. Nah, a couple of things. So, the second episode is out for Stargirl. The first one I thought was fine. Had a few issues, sure. Did some things well. Did some stuff very well. So, all in all, it was fine. Second episode. Is it going to hold up? Or is there going to be a little bit of cause for concern? Right. I gotta say, for the most part, I enjoyed the episode again. It was fine. However, there is a however. I am slightly worried about the character. And ironically enough, I'm not at all worried about the supporting cast. Because the supporting cast is fantastic. The villain was fantastic. absolutely fantastic. So I was a little bit disappointed that she actually defeated him at the end, and he's off the table for now. I am happy, however, that he's not going to be overused, and they're going to bring different villains to the table. So, disappointed in one regard, but happy in another regard. Okay, 6 of 1. But the actual character of Stargirl has shown a few wibble wobbles in this episode, which is really annoying, because I think if they could do her a little bit better, then this would actually start to develop into a potentially really good show, really fun little show. So, with that said, let's get into why. So we're getting to the minutiae as to what worked and what I think didn't work particularly. And there was one thing which they did do quite well in the episode, and then they kind of fluffed it at the end. But we'll get into it. So we start off exactly where we left off in the last episode, with Stargirl, Courtney, looking up at her, I think Sam, maybe, her stepdad, who's inside this robot. It's not a transformer, it is just a robot like this. So this doesn't turn into his car. It looks like a car because he's a mechanic, but it's not actually a transformer, or it doesn't seem to be at the moment. We only see it in the robot form. So he says, let's get away from here, because the villain was nearby. She just got away from the villain at the end of the first episode, who's now been named as Brainwave. Okay. So she climbs onto the back of the robot, and they go fly off. All well and good. The villain, Brainwave, has managed to acquire her school ID, which is set up from the first episode. She had it done in the first episode. We saw it, and she dropped it during this fight. He picked it up, even though it was partially burnt. He had information to go off. Obviously, he had seen her, and he had the ID, so he could try and run it through the school records, now knowing that she's at school. And even though the actress is 2021 in real life, the character of Courtney is now known to be 15 years old in the show. Okay, so I'm just kind of... And it's important that I say that, because there was criticism that I wanted to give, which I don't think I should. And we'll get to that part. Oh, it's all happening, isn't it? Oh my goodness me. Stargirl, Stargirl. So, they go back to his whatever, to his mechanic's shop, and they have a little bit of a debrief on what had happened. Now, he says, her stepdad says, that Starman was not her father. He's adamant that it's not her father. She's adamant that he is her father. I'm wondering if there might be a bait and switch later in the series where it actually turns out that the stepdad is actually the dad, the real dad. Because we know that Starman was a neglectful partner, if he was her dad, in as much as he wasn't there a lot. He was saving the world, but it's difficult to have sympathy for him because he was portrayed as a dick in the first episode. So it's really kind of like difficult to have sympathy for the guy, which is really weird. So I'm just wondering if she fell into the arms of Luke Wilson. And when I watched the video back from yesterday, I noticed a couple of Owen Wilson slips. Yeah, so they have a little bit of a chit chat. Now, this is one thing that I don't get about the episode. Luke Wilson is constantly browbeat by Courtney, Stargirl. Luke Wilson is easily the best part of the show. Easily. Okay? This is the guy which is showing all the acting chops, all the range, who's dominating the scenes, who's causing us to have empathy for him, sympathy for him in some occasions, because he keeps getting browbeat. And Courtney is precocious. Now, this is where the age part comes in. I am a very similar age, probably, to Luke Wilson, as opposed to Courtney, who's 15, okay? So I clearly identify much more with this character than this character. So teenagers may quite easily be like, what's he know? He's just a stuffy old man. She's trying to do her thing. She's trying to be a hero. Maybe. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to be kind because I do see care and attention in this show. And I do see some clever writing, and I do see some good characterization. So I don't want to jump on the show and start tearing it apart when I clearly see there is a lot of hard work which has gone into this. Whereas with Batwoman, a show like that, you do tear it apart because they don't give a shit. Because the plot and the characterization is gay. That is it. But this is totally trying to tell a story. Absolutely trying to tell a story. And Luke Wilson in this episode shows tremendous courage, bravery, heroism, which actually inspires Courtney at the end, but the show kind of fluffs it. Again, I know I've already said that, but they nearly do so well, and then they don't. So she's all a bit. So we cut to this guy in bed with his wife. I think she's called Denise. She's quite hot, so I try and remember these names. And his son wakes him up and says, "Dad, I heard a noise downstairs." So his dad's just like, "You stay here, guys. I'm pretty sure it's just the cat. I'll go check." And they're just like, but. And he's like, "Come on, this is a small Nebraskan town. What's going to happen?" So he goes into a closet and gets this wand out. So he's clearly super powered in some variety, looking like Harry Potter, having a midlife crisis. And guess who's in the house? Our friendly neighborhood villain, Brainwave? So, this guy is clearly part of the Injustice Society, and there is a plot. There's a plan ahoy. Without going into too much detail, there's a plan ahoy. There's a reason why they're here doing a thing, okay? Kind of reminds me a little bit of Buffy in the Hellmouth sort of business, but there's a legit reason why they're there. So it sets up this character, I think, for the future, because he doesn't do too much in this episode. And then his wife comes down and says, "Who are you talking to?" He says, "Nobody, go back to bed. This is my business, I'll deal with it." And then she goes back to bed, and that bit comes back later to pay off again. So there is quite a bit of characterization and payoff. Or, I should really say, more character development that's because of this. So, we have another chap back at the house where he's just like, "You cannot be... Starman is not your dad. You can't be Starman. But give me the staff. You're not going to use the staff again. I'm locking it away." The reason why we wore gaudy costumes and stuff like that is to protect families. That's why, if somebody's looking at my stripes and I'm called Stripey, then their attention is elsewhere and it's not really about what's going on over here. They are more, it's a little bit of psychology. I'm not saying it was a lot, but it's a little bit of psychology as the louder the costume, and the Justice Society had very gaudy costumes. The louder the costume, the more attention on the costume and not the visage, necessarily. Whatever. Okay, I'll buy that. I'll use my suspension of disbelief. Sure. So he lies in bed after telling Courtney, no. And then he goes down to go through the records, because the reason why he moved to this village is because the last survivor of the Justice Society, which I believe was Owlman, was following the Injustice Society around until they all set up shop here. Then he was killed. So he's come here to try and find out what they're up to and stop it, even though he's just a lowly sidekick. And that's why he built the Golemish car robot. And then he thinks somebody is about to attack him, and it turns out to be the dog. It was clever. So we have a little montage where he's attempting to